Number 132, Social Studies book.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Social Studies book, page number 132. Now, one very important thing, children. Social studies, all the lessons, you have something called the word bank. Each
Yes,
lesson
ma'am.
has a word bank. If you remember in the beginning of the term,
Oh,
I had
ma'am,
asked
which
you
page
to
number?
keep learning all the words that are given there. Yes?
Excuse me, ma'am, which page number?
Yes,
Agrima, page number 132. 132. All the lessons, the word bank, all of you are going to learn them up. Right? You're going to learn them up. You may get them as give one word. Give one word answers. You may get the longer part and the one word you will have to give. So please make sure all the lessons you learn up the word banks. Okay? Vajia, please mute yourself. There's a lot of sound coming
Okay,
from your
ma'am.
end. Okay, now Divyansh, Divyansh is still there. Divyansh, are you feeling okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you be able to do the reading?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, page number 132, Art and Architecture.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, begin
Ma'am,
reading.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, literature. One
So,
of the earliest known writing systems came to India
probably,
probably around
probably.
2500 probably around 2500 BC. People were using this writing to mark their property so other people couldn't steal it and they could keep track of things. The writing was in pictographs like Agi- Ag-
Egyptian,
Egyptian,
Egyptian
Egyptian,
hieroglyphs.
yes ma'am, Egyptian hieroglyph.
Okay, all right. Now, Sayyid Ihan Ali. Sayyid Ihan
Yes,
Ali,
ma'am.
continue.
Yes, ma'am. Harappan pictograph writing. When people began to write again in around 500 BC, it may have been from an idea they got from seeing the Persians write. But the Indians did not use the Persian script. Instead, they used an alphabetic writing pattern called Sanskrit. One of the first things that the people wrote down was a long poem called the Rig Veda. There were three other Vedas as well as, but they are less famous. They also wrote down the Upanishads, which are
Upanishads.
Upanishads,
Upanishad.
which are commentaries and explanations of the Vedas. Around 300 BC, people wrote down the Ramayana, and long epic about Prince Rama and his wife Sita. They also wrote down the Mahabharata. A good part of the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita. About the
Okay,
same
thank you.
time,
Thank
okay,
you.
ma'am.
Shonish, continue.
Okay, ma'am. About the same time, people began to collect and write traditional stories called Jataka tales.
Jataka
India
tales.
has produced many great writers, poets, and dramatists. They have composed literature in various languages. Sanskrit is the oldest language of India. Kalidas was the greatest poet and dramatist of Sanskrit language. Uh, Meghdootam
Meghdutam.
and Abhijana,
Abhigyan Shakuntala.
Meghdootam and
Abhigyan Shakuntala.
Abhijana Shakuntalam, Abhijana Shakuntalam are his great major works. Kabir,
Major.
Surdas, Tulsidas, Mirabai, Jay Shankar Prasad, Nirala,
Sumitra Nandan Pant. Read that. Sumitra
Sumitra Nandan
Nandan
Pant,
Pant.
etc. Sumitra Nandan Pant, etc. have been great poets, while Premchand is a great Hindi novelist. Rabindranath Tagore wrote in Bengali and won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi too wrote several books.
Okay. Now,
Indian music.
thank you, Shonish. When we were doing this lesson, children, I had already told you about all these people, the stories that they've written. Yes, and lots of stories have been enacted on television. Also, they come in the form of the serials. Some of them come in the form of movies, also based on these novels. I told you, always keep reading. Some of you must be coming across stories you'll come across in your Hindi, some lessons, Hindi lessons also. Your stories will be based on these stories written by these great people, right? For example, you have the Sumitra Nandan Pant, Nirala, all these people, they've written a lot of stories. And maybe in your literature lessons in Hindi, you may read some of their stories, right? So remember these names. All these great people, they've written a lot. Some of your parents, if they like to read, they must be reading some of their novels also in Hindi. Yes, some of them must be reading. And you also, if you're interested in reading Hindi also, it's good to read Hindi books also. So you will come across these novels, right? Then all the great writers, the poets, all the great works of them, you have to know all that also, right? Now coming to the Indian music part. Agrima, begin reading.
Okay, ma'am. Indian music. There are two main styles of music in our country. Hindustani in the north and Carnatic in the south. There are two types of music, vocal and instrumental. Vocal music has several ragas. Each raga is used at a specific time of the day and the season. Tansen was a great
Tansen.
singer
That word
in
is
the
pronounced as Tansen.
Tansen was a great singer in the court of
Emperor
In, Emperor Akbar.
Akbar.
Indian musical instruments. The main instruments played in India are sitar, sarod, sarangi, israj, tanpura, santoor, vichitra,
Veena.
veena, violin, tabla,
Violin.
tabla, पखावाज, मृदंगम, जल तरंग, ढोलक, पुंग, flute, and shirne. Indian
Okay,
dances.
fine. Thank you. Now see children, the talking about the music and the instruments, these are all the instruments that are given over there. I've already told you when we were doing this lesson that your country, there are a lot of music and we all like to hear music, yes, and there are a lot of instruments, so you should know the names of the instruments and you should also be able to recognize these instruments. You should be able to recognize these instruments, so please look up the pictures, search the net, look up the pictures, right? Okay, Yusuf, continue. Indian dances.
Dances is also of two types, classical and folk. The major classical forms of dance are Bharatanatyam, Tamil Nadu, Kathakali, and Mohiniyattam, Kerala, Odisha, Kuchipudi, Andhra Pradesh,
Andhra,
Manipuri,
Andhra Pradesh,
Manipur,
Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra
Yusuf,
Pradesh,
Yusuf, not Andhra
yes,
Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra Pradesh, Manipur, and Kathak, Uttar Pradesh.
Okay,
Indian
good.
arts and
Now,
crafts.
okay, thank you, thank you. Now, yesterday there was a news. Yesterday there was a news floating around. I don't know whether you all came across that news, children. There was a news about a famous dancer who passed away. A famous Kathak dancer who passed away. Did
Ma'am, I
anyone
can read.
did anyone come across that news? Did anyone come across that news?
Ma'am, which
Yes, ma'am. My mom was telling somebody passed away. He was a famous dancer.
Okay, very good. So you got to hear something at least. You know, a very famous Kathak dancer, Birju Maharaj, he passed away yesterday and he was 83. He was 83. He passed away yesterday. Okay. And people take his name with great respect. All this, I told you, you should keep in touch with the news. Please keep reading the news. Whatever you're studying, you get a lot to know through the news. Birju Maharaj was a very famous Kathak dancer. And since you're studying about Kathak over here, that belongs to your own land, you should know about it. Right?
Ma'am, I
Okay.
can read. Ma'am, I
Now
can read.
moving forward, Vedantika.
Yes.
Vedantika, read Indian Arts and Crafts. Vedantika,
Number.
page number 133.
Ma'am, I can
Yes,
read.
ma'am.
Just a second, Vijaya.
Ma'am, the major themes of Indian art began
Emerging.
early Harappan,
Emerging.
emerging as early as the Harappan period, about 2500 BC, with the
Emerging means it
arrival of
started coming up. Okay.
with the arrival of Indo-Europeans or
European.
Aryans, Europeans,
Or the
Aryans,
Aryans. They were known as the Aryans. The Indo-Europeans or the Aryans.
around 1500 BC, there came a new artistic idea. Around 500 BC, their conversion to Buddhism of the large part of population of India, what with it some new artistic themes. The first life-size stone statues in India date to 100 BC, just after Alexander.
Alexander the Great. Okay, he was another very great man of the country. Okay, he was a
Yes,
very great ruler. Now,
yes, ma'am.
earlier, the pictographs were there. We started with the pictograph, the literature, okay, the hieroglyphs, the Egyptian. That was little pictures were used to depict something, to say something. They did not have the proper writing, okay. They did not have the proper writings. They started expressing themselves in the form of those little pictures. Each picture used to mean something. They used to put together pictures and understand things. And then the Harappan writings, we came to know, instead of they using these pictures, they used alphabetics. The alphabets, the writing pattern started. And then after the writing pattern started, then the books started being written. People started writing the books, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the epics. Okay, then the Bhagavad Gita, you had the Jataka tales. All these books started coming. People started writing. And you know, in the olden days, if you have seen the some serials, of course, I'll talk about my time only, because in the 90s we had a lot of serials coming on DD National, and there they used to show this Abhigyan Shakuntalam. Okay, then the Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these serials were put up. These stories, they were actually performing. The people were performing so that the people know about these. And in olden days, people used to use those feathers, they used to dip it into the ink and they used to write. Have you seen all this?
Ma'am, it's in Harry Potter movie, ma'am. They
Yes,
also write
Yes,
ma'am.
in
with
the Harry
feather.
Potter movie, right. You've seen it over there also. Okay, good. So all this thing was done in the olden days, right? So we just finished with all this and we started talking about the Indian music. You have vocal as well as instrumental. You know what is vocal and instrumental, all of you? Yes? Yes,
Yes,
Mariam?
ma'am.
What is vocal? What is instrumental?
Instrumental music is the music that is played by instruments. The music that is like by
Sung by?
instruments.
Sung? That is vocal. Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay, and here we have a lot of instruments mentioned over here in the lesson. I just told you, go through all that, right? Then the dance forms, various dance forms are given when we were studying about the different states, the people. Then we had also done the dance forms of the various states, right? Here you have the dance forms given, and then the art and craft. And here at the side, on the right hand side, you have lovely pictures given there. Rabindranath Tagore, then Prem Chand, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Zakir Hussain, Ravi Shankar, and the classical dance form. Now, Tejas, read the portion which says
Ma'am, I
meet
can.
me. Tejas, read the portion which says meet me.
Oh, one second.
The portion that says meet me. Quickly, you've got to be ready. Okay. Sanvi Verma, you start reading. Children, we are online, so you have to be ready absolutely.
Meet me.
Yes.
Among
Pandit Bhimsen Joshi.
Pandit Bhim Singh Joshi is an exponent
Exponent. Ex-
of the Hinduism music, while MS Subhasamam has popular Carnatic music.
Carnatic music. Okay, so Pandit Bhimsen Joshi was a person who was an exponent of Hindustani music, that he was the one who was persuading Hindi music, and he was supporting Hindi music, right? Then you have, while MS Subbalakshmi has popularized Carnatic music, that's also another form of music. Okay, Sayyid Muhammad Raza Abadi, read the portion, meet me, the next one.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, which one?
Page number 133, meet me, the second portion.
Okay, ma'am.
Start reading.
Among instrumentalists, Pandit Ravi Shankar Sitar, Amjad Ali Khan
Amjad
Sarod.
Ali Khan.
Okay, ma'am. Amjad Ali Khan Sarod, Ustad Zakir Hussain Tabla, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma Santur, Pandit Hari Prasad
Chaurasia, yes.
flute player Ustad Bismillah Khan Shehnai, etc. may be mentioned with great honor.
Honor, yes. All these names you should know. These are all the great people. Okay, they all belong to your country, so you should know about them. All the instruments that they play. And they're very simple, humble people, children. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Now, turn the page.
Ma'am, may I read?
All right,
Ma'am,
let's
can
see.
I read?
Okay, Vajiha, read architecture. Vajiha, read the portion of architecture. Switch on your camera, child.
Yes, ma'am.
Architecture.
Architecture. The architecture of India is rooted his studies, lecture,
Culture
and
and religion.
culture and religion. The earliest big building in India
The
were
earliest,
built by
earliest. Vajiha, that word is pronounced as earliest.
earliest big building in India were built by the Harappan people in the Indus Valley about 2500 BC. The Harappan building include high brick walls around their cities to keep out
Enemies. Enemies.
enemies.
Okay, so now we are talking about the architecture. Architecture is all the buildings that the people made. Okay, that is the Indian architecture is rooted in its history, culture, and religion. People used to make those beautiful buildings based on the culture of our country. You have the earliest big buildings in India. You have the Harappan people in the Indus Valley. Okay, they made high brick walls, very high walls they made, and the cities. They so that they used to keep out their enemies. They were very scared that the enemies will attack, so they used to make high walls, right? And the beautiful paintings, you can see the paintings over there, children. The pictures given over there. See, these are the paintings they used to make on the walls, the carvings and all they used to do. That is architecture. All right. Mariam, read the next paragraph.
Okay, ma'am. Their cities to keep out enemies after this.
Yes.
Emperor Ashoka built great
Stupas.
stupas and Sanchi
Yes,
and
Aradhya.
Sarnath.
Just a second, Mariam. Aradhya. Aradhya, you're saying something?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this is our last period.
Now the last period is started. Yes, the last period is started. Let's just finish with this reading. Then we'll do some this thing, your practice and more today. Okay? We'll do practice and more in the next period. Okay, just finish reading this quickly.
Okay, Sarnath. These works are also the wonderful examples of architectural skills of the Indians.
Okay, thank you. So Emperor Ashoka built the Sanchi Stupa as Sarnath. See the picture given down below. See such a wonderful creation it is. If you ever get a chance to go and visit it, you must see. Such lovely architecture is there in our country. You can see it. And then these works are also the wonderful examples of architectural skills of the Indians. How artistic our Indian people are. See, they are so good at all these things. The cave temples at Ellora and Elephanta too are the great works of ancient architecture. Several kings of India patronized artists and architects to build magnificent temples in various parts of India. The Jain temples of Dilwara, Mount Abu, and those at Madurai, Tanjavur, Vellore. All these places, children, there are beautiful temples. If you ever get a chance to visit all this in the later years, when you grow big, you must see how rich your country is. The culture of your country is so rich. You know about the Taj Mahal at Agra, you've already heard about that. The Buland Darwaza at Fatehpur Sikri, the Gol Gumbaz at Bijapur, the Qutub Minar at Delhi, Victory Tower at Chittorgarh, etc. the great monuments of India. Okay, now this is your last period. Yes, so keep your social studies book at the side and take out your practice and more.